Is this the old world or the new world Zinogre? Let's find out! Hey everyone, Chrono Pinoy X here once again, back with another Monster Hunter video, and today I'm finally going to answer the question for you on whether or not the monster that we are fighting in Monster Hunter Rise is an old world or a new world version. We're going to take a look at the spark pupper that is the Zinogre. A lot of people are asking the question on whether or not Zinogre's version in Rise is the old world or the new world iteration, because there are some key characteristics regarding this monster that feels very different from the one that we fought in Iceborne. So we're gonna go ahead and take a look at the spark pupper once again just to get a better idea as to which version of the monster we're really fighting in Monster Hunter Rise. Let's go ahead and take a look on whether or not the monster that is the Zinogre in Monster Hunter Rise is the old world or the new world iteration. Okay, so first of all, let's compare the physical characteristics between the two Zinogres. Notice how the old world Zinogre has a far bulkier frame to it, a more aggressive look, and the spikes running across its body, they look far sharper, they feel edgier. That is something that we see with most old world Zinogres. That includes previous Monster Hunter titles as well. So the one that we see in Rise has many of these characteristics. The new world Zinogre that we see in Iceborne, on the other hand, has a more refined look to it. When you notice their body structure, it's far leaner compared to the old world version, and not only that, a lot of the spikes running across its body, they do have a rounded end to them, making them look more streamlined by comparison. So these are some key characteristics that we see between an old and a new world monster. In fact, in the Monster Hunter World Official Complete works, Capcom does the exact same comparison but with a Rathalos leg. A Rathalos leg back in the old world has a bulkier frame and an aggressive look, whereas a new world version has a more refined look to it and it looks leaner. So this is definitely something that we see regarding the physical characteristics of a monster between the old and the new world, and it's very apparent on the Zinogre here. Alright, so now that we've gotten the physical characteristics of the monster out of the way, let's go ahead and do a comparison between Zinogres from the old world, with Generations Ultimate being our example, to that of the new world in Iceborne, and then we'll use the Rise monster later on in order to do a three-way comparison. That way we have a better understanding as to what exactly we're looking into with regards to the Rise version of Zinogre. Now I'm gonna do this comparison for you real quickly so you can go ahead and observe for yourself, and then I'll talk about what exactly we're looking into in regards to the differences between old world Zinogre and new world Zinogre when it comes to their behavior and characteristics in combat. Alright, hopefully that observation gives you a much better idea on the differences in the way the monsters animate themselves based on the region in which they live in. If you're not quite sure what we're looking into, if you observe the old world Zinogre, what you're looking into here is the amount of exaggerated movements the monster is doing, even on something simple as running towards the hunter. These exaggerated movements are meant to portray a wild and reckless animal, so the erraticness of the monster is what gives it that wild flair. In the new world, however, what we're looking into here is the refinement of these movements. The creature has a level of finesse not seen on the old world monster. This is possibly due to the fact that in the new world, they're trying to portray a more intelligent version of the monster, so that level of finesse is there in order to portray a smarter monster. So hopefully that gives you a better idea on what we're looking into when we start to compare the Zinogre from Monster Hunter Rise. So here is the three-way comparison, and observe for yourself whether or not we're taking a look at an old world or new world Zinogre in Monster Hunter Rise. Now hopefully with that three-way observation, you can see that we are more than likely dealing with an old world version of Zinogre in Monster Hunter Rise based around the movements of the creatures. Not only that, the physical characteristics between the monsters, they match that of the old world creature rather than the new world iteration. So this is definitely an old world monster that we are dealing with here when we take a look at Zinogres in Rise. Now what's important here as well is that over the years, these monsters would be evolving and improving upon their capabilities. That is the reason why even though these creatures are extremely similar to one another, the Zinogres in Rise have improved capabilities. For example, when they go through the supercharged state, they would have their eyes glowing. Alongside this, when they do the body slam attack, they would summon lightning afterwards. So there are some differences in their capabilities, but overall, we can see a lot of similarities between old world Zinogres and the one that we see in Rise. Now the Iceborne iteration of the monster is a master rank version of this particular creature. Once the master rank version of Monster Hunter Rise kicks in, I will more than likely do a comparison once again to see how the monster has improved upon over the years in regards to the improvement in difficulty. But for the time being, we are definitely dealing with an old world monster here, and it's good to see these regional differences on Zinogres throughout the Monster Hunter series. Now with all of this information in mind, some of you might be wondering as to why there's a marginal difference in not just the physical characteristics of a monster between old and new world, but also the way they move around as well as their behavior. The answer to this is plain and simple. The reason that new world monsters show a level of intelligence and finesse in comparison to old world monsters is because they're being influenced by the bioenergies of elder dragons as they go through their life cycle in the new world in comparison to the old world. Despite the old world having more elder dragons being discovered on it, the new world iteration of monsters, they're always absorbing bioenergy because there's a huge concentration of bioenergy in the new world when elder dragons congregate to this one area during the Elder's Crossing, and we can already tell that an influence of bioenergy is going to be extremely intense on any monster. That includes old world creatures if they manage to absorb it to some degree. So this is the reason why there's a marginal difference in the characteristics between old and new world monsters, and they portray that extremely well in Monster Hunter Rise in giving us an idea as to what an old world monster would be like in a modern setting. So hopefully that gives you an idea as to why there's these differences that can be portrayed upon between old world and new world monsters throughout the series. And that's pretty much it for this video, observing the Zinogre in Rise and better understanding whether we are dealing with an old world or a new world monster in the series based on the characteristics of this particular monster. Hopefully you've learned something regarding the regional differences between monsters in the old and the new world, and you now have a better idea as to what you need to observe on a monster to understand whether we are dealing with an old world monster or a new world monster instead. What do you think about these regional differences between certain creatures throughout the Monster Hunter series? Let us know in the comments below your thoughts and opinions regarding regional differences on each of the monsters introduced throughout the Monster Hunter series and their differences between old world and new world counterparts. Now with all of that being said, if you enjoyed these videos, please consider hitting a like on the video itself and subscribing to the channel, as well as hitting that bell icon so you can go ahead and catch up on any future Monster Hunter content that I might be doing or any other games that I might be playing in future. Until then, I hope you enjoyed this video. Thanks ever so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Onward and upward.